The history of the end of World War II is filled with heroic narratives, but for millions of Germans, an unimaginable nightmare began after the collapse, one that spared neither the Eastern nor the Western occupation zones. Today, we draw no moral line between East and West. We lay bare the uncompromising truth about the atrocities, crimes, and systematic brutality committed by all occupying powers. From the death camps on the Rhine to the gulags in Siberia, the truth is bloody and uncomfortable. The first crime after the victory was the dehumanization of prisoners of war and internees. The Soviets took over and simply continued operating concentration camps like Buchenwald and Sachsenhausen. In these special camps, not just Nazi perpetrators, but tens of thousands of innocent civilians, teachers, pastors, and youths were arbitrarily interned. Camp conditions were marked by systematic starvation, cold, and epidemics. Thousands died in secret, without trial, and were shoveled into mass graves. It was a system of extermination through attrition and disease. Yet, the US Americans also created their own death zones. Hundreds of thousands of German soldiers, classified as disarmed enemy forces, DEF, were crammed into massive open-air cages on the Rhine. No shelter, no food, no sanitation. This was not an oversight. It was a deliberate, brutal refusal of sustenance and protection that drove tens of thousands to a certain death by starvation, typhus, and exposure. The rape of German women and girls was a widespread, brutal phenomenon across large parts of Germany, and it was not solely an Eastern problem. The mass rapes by the Red Army in the conquered Eastern territories and Berlin were shocking in their scale. Estimates of up to 2 million victims point to a strategic unleashing of violence as an act of revenge, often carried out publicly, repeatedly, and with fatal consequences. However, the French colonial troops in southwest Germany unleashed a wave of violence and racially motivated sexual abuse. But even US and British GIs committed thousands of rapes, murders, and sexual assaults, often under the influence of alcohol and with a feeling of absolute impunity. These crimes continued unabated well into the 1950s. Innumerable civilians were forced into a death march or deported for slave labor. 12 to 14 million Germans were brutally expelled from their ancestral homes in Eastern and Southeastern Europe. Hundreds of thousands died on these death marches from hunger, cold, and exhaustion, or were shot by their guards. The survivors were often deported for forced labor to the Gulag in Siberia, where they had to toil under murderous conditions until collapse. Stern, noting the hypocrisy, the Western Allies also used German POWs as forced laborers for reparations in France and Great Britain. Furthermore, a massive, systematic dismantling and plundering of German patents and scientific achievements took place, often conducted ruthlessly and without regard for the German economy. Perhaps the greatest shame was the decades of silence imposed by all sides. The Soviets denied the existence of their special camps and the death tolls. The truth was buried behind the Iron Curtain, leaving victims' families in the dark for years. The Western Allies ensured their legal immunity. Crimes such as murder and rape by GIs and French soldiers were tried within the military jurisdiction, often resulting in ridiculously mild sentences or immediate repatriation. German authorities and victims were powerless. The goal was clear. The image of the moral victors had to be protected at all costs, even at the expense of the victims. This video is not intended to relativize the crimes of Nazi Germany. It is dedicated to the truth, the brutality, the arbitrariness, and the cover-up of crimes by all occupying powers is an inalienable part of German post-war history. Only by ruthlessly naming the crimes of all perpetrators, East or West, can we fully understand the tragedy of this era and ensure that no group of victims is forgotten. True historical reckoning must tear down all holy images. Thank you for watching this difficult but necessary historical exploration. If you found this information valuable and believe in the importance of an unbiased historical view, please like this video and subscribe to our channel for more uncompromising analyses of world history. Your support helps us bring these critical truths to light.